What's up everybody and welcome to another edition of AGR's Pop Culture Reviews. If you've been watching the reviews for a while, you'll remember that I actually did a 1/6 scale figure completely articulate of Red Sonja, and that was a phenomenal piece. It actually kind of blew me away. So I'm glad that there is a resurgence in Red Sonja. I loved her as a kid, and then I lost touch a little bit, but it looks like she's making a resurgence and her popularity is really growing. Fortunately, I'm gonna be sent a lot more of these pieces, and it does make me feel good that Red Sonja is making a reappearance to future generations, which is really cool. I think this is an interesting character, definitely a badass character, and it's nice that future generations will also get to enjoy her as well. I'm also pretty psyched that the piece that we're reviewing today is inspired by artwork by Scott Campbell, obviously one of my favorite artists, so this is gonna be really sweet. Now, statues are often a little bit in the eye of the beholder. When you have a 1/6 scale figure that's fully articulate, you can basically pose it however you want, or your vision of that character. Statues are static, so it really has to have an epic impression in order for it, at least for me, to be really cool. So today we're going to be taking a look at the Women of Dynamite's rendition of Red Sonja. Let's take a closer look. Now, right out of the box, I immediately fell in love with the stance and the presence of this character. It was beautiful, but not everything was perfect. The head sculpt looks great, I like the molded hair, and they got the right shade of red perfect. The problem is that there's a little bit of CQ issues, particularly on the face. I noticed some smudges and some kind of like scarring, which I don't think were intentional. Now, this is not an indictment of the entire line, don't get me wrong, but it looks like there wasn't enough quality control before they sent this piece out, and these small little defects may just be with this piece. Now, the midsection of this piece is also very impressive. I definitely like the sculpt and the mold. Obviously, they made her very voluptuous. It looks fantastic. The detail looks great, especially in the armor. But I will say, again, the quality control issue here is pretty apparent, and that's what really sets this statue back. There are smudges where there shouldn't be, particularly in her armor and her flesh tone. It just looks like it was a little bit rushed when they did the paint job. Those minor gripes aside, and you really have to be looking closely at the statue, just like I am, to notice them. The sculpt is phenomenal, guys, especially in the abdominal area. I mean, take a look at that. That looks absolutely stunning. The abdominal wall looks fantastic, the obliques look great, and that belly button looks incredibly sexy. Stylistically, I also like what they did with the midsection where she's kind of twisting a little bit. What it does is it creates this really brilliant three-dimensional illusion with her weapons, and they're really popping out at you. Her dagger looks absolutely fantastic. The hilt, the sheath is incredibly detailed for its size. Also comes with this incredibly ornate battle axe. Now, it's not as big and as ostentatious as the one from the 1/6 scale figure, but it is equally impressive. I have to say that the silver that they painted it in looks really good, and I especially love the wash. It gives it that extra detail. And rounding out the last weapon that she has is this incredibly looking broadsword, and it reminds me of something that Ned Stark had in Game of Thrones just before he lopped off a head. The hilt looks fantastic. I love the design of this thing, and the fact that she's holding it with one hand at the butt of the weapon looks amazing, guys. It runs the whole length of the statue, and it's leaning forward just a little bit, again adding to that three dimension of this piece. It looks phenomenal, and you know what, I like that it's not even shiny. The blade is a little bit dull, and I think it looks good. Now, easily, one of the most impressive things about this piece is definitely in her lower section. Her legs. Quad muscles look great, and what I like is that they didn't overemphasize them or make them exaggerated. This looks like an actual woman's muscular structure, and they are powerful yet sexy at the same time. They did a really great job in her boots also. I love the sculpt, the folds look great, and I also like that they used different colors to really emphasize the palette here, which looks great. Most importantly though, they are done in kind of a dull finish in certain areas, and it just adds to the realism of this piece. I also like that her heel is slightly raised as well. It looks cool. But I think where this piece really shines is definitely in the base. Not only is it a small footprint so it doesn't take up too much shelf space, but it's also incredibly intricate. I love the stones, I love the snow frosting, looks amazing, and I also love the rim of this base where it has those skeletons and crossbones. Now, these are really small comparatively speaking, but they put a lot of detail in them. You can notice little cracks in the eyes and in the sculpt and even in the teeth. It looks really good, guys. They did a great job here. Now, as you know, certain statues just scream for you to display it with a mirrored back, and obviously Red Sonja is one of them. The brilliance in her hair color really comes out when you look at the reverse side of this, and the sculpt looks fantastic. But most importantly, I mean, come on guys, it is Red Sonja. You gotta look at the fan service here. The reverse side of this statue is just epically beautiful, guys. and you know, it really emphasizes the female form. Looks great, so if you have a mirrored back, you definitely need to display it this way because this will really make the statue pop. Now remember that this piece is limited only to 1,000 pieces, which is going to make it very rare soon. And you also get this certificate of authenticity, which is pretty cool. It does read Women of Dynamite, the name of the character Red Sonja. It's a limited edition statue and it's based on the artwork of Scott Campbell and sculpted by Jason Smith. Now I got really lucky this time around, and any collector worth his soul will know that if you have limited edition runs, you want the smallest number possible. I got number 10 of 1,000, which is awesome, guys. Now, a few minor QC issues aside, this is a brilliant statue and I highly recommend it. Now, it is going to be a Holy Grail piece. I do put it over just because it's limited to 1,000 pieces, which seems like a big number, but when you think about it, only 1,000 people on this earth will own this piece. You also have to consider the price point, which is pretty reasonable. Now, I know that Sideshow Collectibles have their premium format statues, which I'm going to be getting sent soon, so I'll be doing reviews on that. So if you want to save a little money, but you still want a Red Sonja statue, this is a wonderful alternative for you guys. Now, before I go, I just want to thank the folks over at Big Bad Toy Store for sending this wonderful piece over for review. And if you're interested in this and other collectibles, please visit www.bigbadtoystore.com. Alright everybody, so that's my official review on the Women of Dynamite's version of Red Sonja. As always, I thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next AGR's Pop Culture Reviews.